Hi, SHS seniors and families of SHS seniors. Principal Steve Carlson, and I'm asking for a few minutes of your time in this video so I can try to explain how we're going to handle this very unique situation with respect to our seniors. And I guess my presentation starts with just the very simple notion of how sorry all of us at SHS are, from the staff and administration on down. We don't think this is the way it's supposed to be, obviously, and quite frankly, we're sick to our stomachs about what we're dealing with right now, and more importantly, how that's affecting our seniors. I was sharing with another parent in an email that for me and anyone else that works at the school, this is a temporary situation, and we know eventually this is going to be over and school will go back to normal, and for me, life as a high school principal is going to be what I've always known it to be. But we recognize that if you're a senior, and if you're a family member of a senior, that a lot of once-in-a-lifetime opportunities are being taken away from you. Not to dwell on negative, but I think about the winter sports season. Not every winter sports team was able to finish their MHSAA tournaments. Worse, the spring sports season never happened at all. Our musical, the drama club, was going to put on The Addams Family, directed by Mr. Sheeler. I was very much looking forward to that. I know a lot of other people were too. And then there is the Festival of the Arts, one of my favorite annual events that the school puts on. And those are just a few of the things that I think of off the top of my head, in addition, of course, to commencement, and I'll talk about that later. So for me, I'll get to do all these things again. I'll get to see students go through these things again. But if you're a senior and you missed your last chance at these without any sort of advance warning this was going to happen, we recognize this is heartbreaking. Families, parents, we recognize this is heartbreaking. And we are definitely sick to our stomachs about what you're going through. I wish it could be anything but unfortunately this is the situation we have. So how do we make the most of it? Well, we celebrate. And one thing we can celebrate is that seniors, you are graduating. Now, the governor's executive order that came out last week stated that seniors are to graduate, but that didn't change any of our mindset. That was already our mindset going in. There are three buckets that a senior might fall into. So if you can bear with me on this slide, I'll identify what those buckets are and how seniors will know for sure which bucket we have them in. First, and this is for most of our students, fortunately, if you are on track to graduate and you are passing all of your required classes as of the date of the shutdown, believe it or not, you're done. Congratulations. We aren't going to ask you to do any more work. Your learning doesn't need to continue. We believe that you've done enough at this point for us to grant you the Sandusky High School diploma, and we congratulate you. We are handling grades for this marking period on a no credit basis, I should say semester. So your transcripts for the last semester of your high school career are going to read credit or no credit, and the grade point averages that you had as of the end of the first semester of this year, which is what we use to calculate all of our recognition and rewards, those are not going to change one bit. Second bucket that you might be in is that you are on track to graduate, but at the time of our shutdown, there was one or maybe two required classes that you weren't passing for whatever reason. I don't want those students to stress out. I want you to know that your teachers will contact you with an individualized plan. Now, I've looked over the list, I've looked over the grades, and in most of the circumstances where a student is in this bucket, there's not much, you're not that far from passing. So what a teacher is going to ask you to do is probably not going to be too time consuming, not going to be too challenging, and you're going to get yourself into good standing quickly. Again, this is a credit, no credit situation, so we're just going to be getting you to a passing level. You're not going to have to worry about your grade point average being negatively affected. Then in the third bucket, we have our students who are anticipating graduating this year, but they knew they had some credit recovery that they had to make up. And obviously, you thought you had more time to do it. You've been able to work on your credit recovery to some degree during the shutdown. Please understand that Mrs. Stringer, Mrs. Roski, and I have spoken, and we sort of have some new plans for how credit recovery will go. So not to say that you don't need to do it, because you do, but we are going to help you through it, and we're going to change some of the settings to make it more fair to students in the setup that we're in. I'm going to let Mrs. Stringer reach out to those students because she obviously is the one who can communicate most effectively about what needs to be done. But we're going to get you done. The disclaimer I want to put out there is that there are some students that knew from the beginning of this year that they were not on track to graduate. Some of you will have credit recovery to work on. You can still work on that, obviously, but understand that if you weren't on track to graduate at the start of the year, we told you that, you knew that, and just understand that students in that situation, you're still probably going to need some extra time to finish, no different than if school were in regular session. Again, we'll be communicating with all the seniors and their families, so there is no ambiguity about where you're at. We'll be doing that this week. Actually, some of you might get the phone call before you see this video. I intend to start making phone calls this afternoon, early this evening, April 6th. I don't think it'll take us all week to do it, but be patient with us as other things are going on at the school too. Between myself, Mrs. Roski, Mrs. Stringer, we're going to send students individual emails with their status, and parents will receive phone calls. We'll leave voicemails as needed. Class honors. When we make those individual emails and those individual phone calls to students and their families, we're going to let them know if they have earned any of our various class honors, all the way from valedictorian, salutatorian, to the different honors that a student can earn upon graduation. We're going to share that information individually because we believe that's important to do. And once it's been shared individually, we will share it publicly, just like we always would. You'll be able to find this information later on the SHS Facebook page, and we'll also share it with our local newspapers like we always would, and they will publish that information according to their timetables. So give us the chance to share the good news individually, and then we will share it publicly for everybody to see. I mentioned some of the things that seniors lost out on, or have lost out on, or will lose out on, and none of those is bigger than commencement. And I know, especially for students and their parents, this is the most heartbreaking thing that isn't going to happen the way that it should. SHS can tell you two things. Number one, we're committed to holding a traditional commencement ceremony when it's safe to do so, but I cannot tell you when that's going to be. That won't be a decision that anybody at the school level is able to make. That's a decision that's going to have to be made by our public health officials, obviously. We want to be realistic when we tell you that we hope that we could do something in the summer before students might start to move on to college or the military or wherever their career paths are going to take them after high school. But we don't know that the summer is going to be safe to do that or not. We have to wait and see. If we have to do it in the fall, we'll do it in the fall. Understanding that this lack of a traditional commencement ceremony is heartbreaking, to say the least. We do have tentative plans to hold a virtual commencement ceremony on Sunday, May 17th. There's a lot of really cool ideas going around out there that I've had shared with me about how to do virtual commencement ceremonies, and I want to share some of the ideas that have come my way with senior class representatives, student council leadership, and senior class advisors. We want to sort through some of the information that's out there. We want to tweak it, we want to add to it, and we want to put together a plan that will make a virtual commencement ceremony for the class of 2020 as special as it possibly can be. I just ask everyone to be patient with me, be patient with the school. We are spending most of this week with our teachers, getting them set up for what learning is going to look like for 7th through 11th graders for the rest of this year. And then next week, we're going to roll that out. I know for a fact that when we roll it out, there's going to be some kinks that we need to work out along the way. I anticipate that I'm going to be very busy the next 2 weeks with all of that work, in addition to making the individual phone calls and emails to our seniors. I'm hoping by about the third week of April, I can turn my attention to what a virtual commencement ceremony might look like. I'll reach out to the people I need to reach out to get sort of a committee together, and we'll get planning, and you will know as soon as we have some details to share. So thank you for your patience. Again, we're committed to making this as special as we can, but we don't know exactly when we can do it in the traditional setting. Ways to contact me. The same email that sent students this video contains a link to a new Remind class. A lot of our students use the Remind app for different classes and different student organizations, maybe their athletic teams, so it's a very familiar app for our students. I created a new class just this morning, sort of a hotline to Mr. Carlson. Students can use the Remind app under this class to send me their questions, and I can respond to them as they come in. I will still use student email. Students can still email me, but I know that students are very familiar and comfortable with Remind. So for sort of sort of less official communication, students can contact me that way. Parents, email is the good way to contact me right now. I am getting more emails right now than I usually do. So what you might want to do is put your student name in the subject of the email. If you do that, it's certainly going to jump out to me, and it's not going to have the risk of being sort of buried in the inbox with some of the other emails I'm getting right now. I pledge that I'll respond within 24 hours to your email. In most cases, it's going to be much less than that. Again, these next couple weeks will be pretty busy, so just be patient with me. But 24 hours for sure, and in most cases, it'll be much less than that. You can increase your chances of me having you can increase your chances of your email standing out to me if you put your student's name in the subject. We'll put some updates on the SHS Facebook page as well, but for official communications, especially at the individual student level, we'll be using school email for that. And I will close this video by letting the class of 2020 know how much we at Sandusky High School love you very much. We feel sick that this is the way that we are saying goodbye to you. In fact, I'd prefer not to think of it as goodbye so much as see you later. The things that you have lost through this crisis can never be replaced, but I don't want the current situation to make any of you feel less proud of your accomplishments. I don't want it to cause you to look back at your time at Sandusky High School in a negative light, and above all, don't ever think that it means that we think any differently of you here at Sandusky High School. We look forward to when we can celebrate together, but until that time, just know how much we love you. Take care, stay well, be healthy.